Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight I have a small Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we have a great topic. The topic, albums that have surprised you, the good or the bad. I've got the Elder of Rock and Tom Curlis here, so let's get going. This will be great. Welcome to the Contrarians. I have a small panel tonight, but we have a mighty panel. I've got the Elder of Rock, and I've got Tom Curlis here tonight. We are going to talk about albums that surprised you, good or bad. Now, everybody knows we've had this. Everyone who's into music knows that we've had records that you've heard that, or maybe someone turned you on and to something, and you're going, "Oh my God." The gates open, you've really enjoyed something, or maybe you haven't. So we're going to go with 3 records that have surprised us, good or bad, and a couple of honorable mentions. So I want to welcome the Elder of Rock. There he is. And Tom Curlis here tonight. So I'm going to start out with the Elder since he was here.
All right.
I guess let's do this. Give me two examples. Could be good or bad. Then we'll go around and do one. And then when we do the one, we'll do our honorable mentions then. So let's just do that. 2 and 1. All right. That'll work. All right. The Elder of Rock. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Give me something. Good
All
or
right,
bad.
well,
I don't care. Give me
All
a
right. Well,
couple
this
of
next album was from a band that had been off the scene for a while. They had kind of an acrimonious split with their singer, and they found a singer that could sing really like the singer that was being replaced. And they were a German band.
Oh.
This came out in 2010, and this is Accept, Blood of Nations.
Okay.
And I was surprised by this because, this they had been away for a while. They tried it once with a different singer other than Udo, which was this album, which was kind of bad. But so I was, a little bit skeptical about their return. But this turned out to be a really great album. It was definitely the album of 2010, I think this came out. And so this was a really good album. I was really surprised by how well it was. I mean, I know they've been off the scene for a long time, but you never know. But every song on this is pretty good. And they set a high bar. I don't think they've quite, since this album, done an album as good as this. The other thing about this is that this is also a true kind of Accept reunion in that there's other guys that were in Accept on this album before. Mm-hmm. Now they've all kind of fallen by the wayside, and it's kind of Wolf Hoffman and some other people. So that's that one.
Cool.
And then the next one, I'm going to go with the one that was really disappointing. Again, this was a band that replaced their singer with another singer, but the singer that they replaced it with, I thought was going to be a really good fit. Really good, it's going to be really fit really well, and they're going to do some good material, but unfortunately, they didn't. And this is
oh, goodness gracious!
Yeah,
that's a famous one.
Yeah, I know it's kind of low hanging fruit, but it's scary. You hear Gary Cherone was going to be in Van Halen, and he's like, wow, Extreme was kind of like Van Halen, and I really liked Extreme. I was hoping they would do something really well, and no, and then I'm a big fan of Eddie's guitar playing, no matter what, but not even on that album. It's just. Was really disappointed.
Well, what I understand, though, you can kind of look at it. I think Michael Anthony talked about this. He basically said that Van Halen 3 was an Eddie solo album. Because I don't think Michael Anthony really did much on it.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm not even sure if Alec even played drums on the damn thing. According to Michael Anthony, and anybody could back me up, look at it on the internet. But he basically said that Eddie was doing most of everything on this record.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, Michael Anthony basically thought this was an Eddie solo album. So
it was still disappointing regardless anyway.
I do want to go on record, Elder of Rock, that I've never heard it because I've been afraid
to
listen to it.
There's maybe 1 or 2 tunes that are okay, but
yeah. It's pretty weak.
Yeah.
What do you think? It sounds more like an Eddie solo album or what? What do you think?
I mean,
hell, I'm throwing it out to both of you guys. I'm just saying.
If it was an Eddie solo album, I would still hope it'd be something better than that.
Okay.
Yeah. It just sounds unfocused. It's kind of all over the place. And I had always heard that in the history of Van Halen that David Lee Roth, both David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar would help with the writing, as far as, Eddie would bring in these really great riffs, these kind of structures, and they would make it into like an arrangement into a better song.
Well, David Lee Roth wrote all the lyrics. I think he had he had a lot to do with putting things together. Let's say that. Yeah, Eddie would come in with riffs, and the band would pretty much just piece it together. But I think David Lee Roth, as a lyric writer, I think he was great. Here, I don't know if they had any kind of direction. Who engineered this? Do you guys know offhand?
It was like a TV
was Don
jingle
Landy?
guy. It made no sense at all. It was like Mike Post.
Like Mike Post from
find the credits
like
here.
Hill Street Blues.
Hill Street Blues Mike Post? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it made no sense. The production made no sense either.
Produced by Mike Post and Eddie Van Halen. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure Mike Post knows what he's doing. My God, he did the damn Rockford Files for God's sake.
Maybe just not for a Van Halen record.
I don't know.
It's just a weird choice. Like what? Like Mike Post producing Van Halen? It just
especially your like kind of comeback record with a new singer, It's like
it's a weird decision making going on.
I mean, they give what's his name a lot of remind me, who was the vocalist again?
Gary Cherone.
Gary Cherone, sorry, the brain is a terrible thing. They put a lot of blame on him, but I don't think it was his fault. The guy can sing anything.
Nope.
Yeah, he can sing, and I think he was just told to sing a certain way, and because a lot of some of the stuff on here, he sounds exactly like Sammy Hagar, the way Sammy Hagar would sing a song. And
if you listen to that Extreme material, it's top notch.
Oh yeah, he's loved him in Extreme, and
I wasn't there. I have no idea. I'm just saying, throwing it out there.
Yeah, my take on it was that he came in like, oh man, I'm in Van Halen, this is awesome, and basically just did whatever Eddie was telling him to do. And tried to sound like you're saying, he tried to sound like Sammy a lot, I think, on that too.
Yeah.
Well,
so
the sad day in the world of Van Halen. All right, so thank you, Elder of Rock. Thank you. All right, Tom.
Yes.
Give us a couple. We're going to keep this loose tonight.
Right.
Give us a couple of examples.
Keep it loose. Okay, we'll start. Let's start on a positive note. How about that?
Positive.
Start positive. I'll go negative later. Because there's a lot of negative ones that are, like you said, low hanging fruit. But I'm going to start positive because I had always heard like things about this record that it wasn't that good, and every time I saw like a ranking of the albums, it was always kind of low, and people were like, it's not really that good. And then I finally bought it and listened to it, and I thought it was killer. It's Thin Lizzy Chinatown. Like I was going into this thinking it wasn't going to be that good. Like, this is going to be a Thin Lizzy record, and I think this record's really good. I mean, We Will Be Strong, the title track, Sweetheart, the whole first side, Sugar Blues, Killer on the Loose. I mean, I don't know. I listen to this record and I go, I don't really think it's that weak at all. So this was kind of like a positive, like a surprise for me. When I first listened to this, I was like, wow, I'm liking it.
Personnel on that or anything that would have made it like to be different or anything like that? Or
I think that Brian Robertson, is gone at this point.
Yeah.
And I think Snowy White's in the band. I mean, maybe that's why people kind of downgrade it, because it's not the original lineup, or it's not the classic lineup.
Well, it depends on what you think classic lineup is, too.
Right.
Remind everybody who's watching, where does this fall in the catalog?
It's 1980. So
1980. Okay.
I think it's right before. It's right before Renegade, and so there were two more records. Renegade and Thunder and Lightning are the last two. So it's like it's third from last. So there was definitely some. I mean, I think he was getting a little more. He being Phil Lynott, I think he was getting a little more druggy at this point. Yeah. And I don't know that he was as focused as usual, but still, man.
Wow.
Even when he's not focused, he's doing pretty good work to me.
Tom, heroin is one hell of a drug.
It sure is. It sure is. And I think Phil was imbibing quite a bit at this point.
Yeah. But still, well, let's say this just for giggles. What would you rate that out of 10?
Ooh.
And I should have asked that to you, Elder of Rock, too. You should have rated those out of 10, too. But
obviously,
me being a rookie and really, I was on the 80s cruise for a while. What would you rate it, Tom?
I would give it I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Almost an 8.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What would you give that Van Halen album, Elder?
Maybe a 3.5.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not going to re-listen to it.
I gotta concur on that. I think it's pretty low. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
I mean, if you compare it to the previous stuff, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I mean,
All right.
and I know Eddie was going through a lot then too, I think. I mean, as far as his drinking or whatever he was up to, I think he was going through some stuff there as well. But
yeah, it could happen. You know, it is what it is.
yes.
All right, Tom,
So-
give us what's your next pick?
So that's surprisingly good. Now let's go to the surprisingly bad.
Okay.
Which is when you go to the I love this topic because it happened a lot where you'd run to the record store, you'd be waiting for an album, and you're like, oh man, this next one's gonna be good. I love this album. I can't wait for the next one. You're just waiting. And then you get the album and you're like, this is it? Like this is the album? Like this is compared to the last one, this is like such a huge drop off. And I felt that with this record. David Bowie Tonight. I loved Let's Dance. I thought that was just killer. And
so when you listen to Let's Dance, and you look at the previous record, you just think, oh, another David Bowie album. Yeah, he changed labels, but Let's Dance just as good as what came before. Scary Monsters, you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Scary Monsters was awesome. I mean, it's kind of unfair because before this, this was like the first stumble he had in like a decade. I mean, the guy put out like through the 70s, in my opinion, was just like brilliance after brilliance after brilliance and then but then finally after Let's Dance, I think I think Let's Dance caught him by surprise. It was so successful that he felt like, oh my God, I'm a huge star, and now I got to live up to this kind of we want more hits kind of thing.
Well, wasn't Let's Dance a reaction because people were going, hey, we need some hits. Come on, Mr. Bowie, give us something.
Come on, Mr.
Wasn't that a reaction to like people going, can he do like a hit record?
I think you might be right about that. I think somebody at a label said something to him like,
I think so.
you put out good music, but you don't have any real big hits.
Because I swear I've read that somewhere.
Or
But
you
whatever.
should be bigger than you are, or something like that. So he took up a challenge. Is that okay? Watch this. I'll make a commercial record.
Mm-hmm. So what is it about this record that you've brought to our attention? What is the problem with it?
Well, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not very good. I mean,
it's got Blue Jean on it, right?
Like Blue Jean is really good. That's a good single. So I was kind of happy with that. I was kind of happy with the single. Loving the Alien is a pretty solid track as well. But man, there's some stuff on here that just sounds half baked and not really finished. And like the whole first side, Don't Look Down. God Only Knows is like pretty bad cover.
Yeah, why would he? I know this is just a dumb question, but why in the world would David Bowie cover God Only Knows?
You're just asking for trouble.
No, exactly. What could he?
Why does he need to cover it
to improve over the Beach Boys off of Pet Sounds, for God's sakes, which is perfection? What could he possibly add to it?
And has David Bowie really been known for doing covers? I mean, does he do covers?
Well, he did the Pinups album. Elder, remember he put all the he's done a lot of covers.
He actually did quite a few covers through the 70s. Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay, I wasn't. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with David Bowie's overall catalog, so I wasn't sure if he.
But I'm just going to throw this out there. If you look at Pinups, do you think Pinups was something that was a bit of a failure? There's a lot of people that like that record, but there's some people that kind of look at it as a minor effort. I'm just curious how you look at it.
I don't look at it as a major part of his catalog. I don't listen to it put it this way, I don't pull it out that often. I don't be like, oh my God, I got to listen to Pinups. But on occasion, when I do listen to Pinups, I go, okay, there's some great covers on here I forgot about, But I wouldn't say I agree with you. I don't think that I would agree with the people that don't think it's a huge part of his catalog. It's kind of a side note almost.
Yeah. So you could almost look at this record too as a side note. Well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a first real disappointment in a long period. I mean, Pinups I could kind of deal with because it was a covers record and it was kind of cool. It still had Mick Ronson on it and it was, was kind of had some cool stuff about it. But this one I don't know. This just feels vanilla to me. It just doesn't feel like it has any teeth,
Elder, this is the quote of the show. This just feels vanilla.
I mean, for Bowie, it's like very vanilla. I mean, and then he does another version of Tonight, which is awesome on an Iggy Pop record, and then this album, it sucks. It's like a terrible version of it. So there's just a lot of it's just one of those where I was disappointed with it when I bought it. I was like,
it's one of those CDs I've never heard it because back in the day you read reviews and they pretty much just slaughtered it. I don't think I've ever seen a review that gave this a thumbs up or anything. And I just kind of avoided it. I've never heard it. Let's Dance,
though, I dig 80s production too, Grant. It's got that 80s feel to it as well.
Yeah,
Let's Dance did too, but in a good way. This is like in a bad way. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but
I understand what you're saying. Well,
yeah.
what year did that come out? Remind me. What year did that come out?
I think it's 82. No, 84.
84. So things are getting out of hand a little bit in the 80s by then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
oh well.
and it was the first time it felt like Bowie was following a trend. He wasn't like, you know what I mean? It almost felt like he was trying to be
instead of leading, he's following. And that happened to a lot of bands. Look, this is a good example.
Oh yeah.
Who were leading back in the day, but by the time we were in the 80s, followers.
Hey, that's another good topic for another show, like when leaders become followers or something like that.
Darn, where's my pen?
You know?
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Because that happens a lot.
See, there's topics constantly when I'm writing it down. All right. Got it. All right, good. Well, there you go. I'm going to throw that out. I think that'd be a fascinating, because think about it. What a great topic, because think about it. So many of these bands back in the day that were leaders, they ultimately all became followers to some degree. They can never always stay on top, but that's a great topic. Yeah. That's why we do these shows, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to come up with topics. The topics generate themselves.
They just come out. Yeah.
They come out. Anyway. It's great.
All right. So that's good. I'm going to throw it over. Thanks, Tom. That was awesome. All right. The Elder of Rock. What's your next one?
All right. This one, let me make sure I get it. I think this came out in 2013. Anyway, this is a band when I saw a few videos for on YouTube back at around 2013, I believe. And I was like, kind of, what is this? This is kind of interesting. It's kind of weird, kind of two things maybe that shouldn't go together. But to me, I thought it was great. And this is Baby Metal. And the combination of J-pop and thrash metal, heavy metal, death metal, whatever, also other different styles. I don't know. Some people, it really divides a lot of people. Some people hate it. I love it. I think it's great. It's very catchy, especially this first album is very catchy. It was weird seeing little girls and singing to this, but when there's death metal music. It shouldn't work, but to me it does. And I've been a fan ever since. I saw them this past summer in concert with Death Clock. It was really good. That was it was a really fun show. And that band is no joke, and the band behind them is no joke, top musicianship. And so there's that.
It just seems so bizarre. What was the background with that? I mean, or is there more than one record, or is it just the one?
Yeah, I
don't know anything about it. So
this came out in 2013. And their last album came out last year. And that's the tour I saw them on. We were on tour with the band Death Clock, if you're familiar with them. They're the band that was on Adult Swim.
Oh,
Brandon Small's band.
Okay,
he's a guitar player. Another band with top musicianship. So it was a really good show. Like I said, it was really fun, real enjoyable. The show itself, the fans are like nothing you'd see at other metal shows because they're into this anime, J-pop stuff as well. So it was really, but they were just there to have fun. There was no pretension.
Were they there dressed like Pokemon or what? I don't know.
I wouldn't say that, but you just get a lot of the like the bright colored hair and the kind of bright.
Dressed clothing. Like furries or?
No. I didn't see anything like that.
No, this is amazing because I had no idea this existed. So
yeah, Baby Metal. I mean, yeah, you should
Baby Metal.
Other videos. Yeah.
All right.
At the time it started, these girls were, I think, like 12 and 13, but now they're in their 20s, or they're getting to be in their 20s. And but it's like I said, the musicianship is top notch. The last single they put out, Tom Morello was on. They put out one permanently from Dragon Force has been on a couple tracks of theirs. They've done some collaborations with some different artists. There was one I just watched yesterday.
So they actually have backing from like established artists in the industry. So that's incredible.
And they've kind of, it's weird, they all sing in Japanese mostly. There's a few songs in English, but they're all in Japanese. But they have found an audience here in the U.S. a little bit. In Tokyo and Japan, they're huge. They play like the biggest arena in Tokyo for 2 nights in a row, and
kind of like Puffy Yami Yumi, but a little bit different.
I was thinking about that too, Grant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what Puffy Yami. I've got a couple of Puffy Yami Yumi.
I don't know.
No, but it's the same kind of thing. But I think they're not like metal or anything. But they had a lot of collaborations with Andy Sturmer from Jellyfish. He's produced a couple of their records. So, but I'm not keeping track of what they're doing, but it kind of what you're describing, Elder of Rock, is kind of like, I keep thinking Puffy Yumi, but different.
Yeah, because I had never heard of them until someone said, well, whatever happened to Andy Sturmer from Jellyfish? And someone said, Puffy Yumi, and I was like, what is that?
We're going to go on a tangent because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Have you heard that, Tom? Have you heard that track? Evidently, Andy Sturmer has reared his musical head, and he put out there's another Cartoon Network cartoon.
Okay.
Go out and look. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but it's great power pop.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Andy Sturmer. It sounds like Jellyfish, for God's sake.
Jellyfish. Yeah.
But he does a lot of work with, television, and hey, good for him. So
hey, that's good money. Television, that's good.
Yeah.
That pays well.
I just want to say one other thing about this album is that the first song on here is called Baby Metal Death. I guarantee you it's one of the heaviest songs you'll ever hear. I guarantee it.
on the ever.
Yeah, ever. I guarantee you put it on, your hair will blow back. I mean, it's got a little bit of the Metallica 1 drum beat in it, that da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and it just goes off from there. And
Elder, now I'm going to have to listen to it. You've got me. I'm going to have to check it out.
It might not be your thing, but you'll find it interesting. I mean,
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. All right, excellent. God darn it. All right, cool. All right, Tom, give us something.
All right.
What else?
All right, I'm going low hanging fruit now for me. This is pretty. This is a pretty common one, but it's got to be said. It's got to be, and because this is one for me personally, another one where I ran out and got the album, and I was like, oh. You've been mowing the lawn, man. You're getting your money. You're like, wow, I got some money. I can go to the record store. I can't wait. And this was on my list.
So when you were a kid, you bought this?
Yeah, this is when I was like 12, 13, something like that. And I was like all excited to go get this album. And I brought it home and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh.
I was like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. I mean, this first side is like, what?
That's one Queen album. I own almost everything else in the Queen catalog, but I don't own that one.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts on that. I have my thoughts on that record.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Is it a good Queen album? I'd say no. Does it really represent Queen in our psyche of what we think Queen is? No. I mean, it's basically a John Deacon Freddie album because they like that.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Yep.
But when we were looking at Queen on another show, I do have to say this. At least they don't sound like a parody band like they became when they always like on the Works.
Right.
It's like they're trying to sound like Queen so badly. They're trying to regain that momentum that they lost, that they sound like a parody.
That is
on
true.
Hot Space, they just sound like they're doing whatever they're doing. It doesn't sound like, it doesn't sound forced. That's what I'm trying to say. Those later albums sound forced, but some people disagree with me. But to me, when I hear them, it sounds forced, but Hot Space does not sound forced to me. I'm just saying.
No, I'm with you. I mean, and it's funny because I listen to this album. I always want to give it another chance. Like, let me give it another chance. And there are some songs on here that, Put Out the Fire is a good rocker.
Yeah.
Life is Real is a pretty cool song for John Lennon. Obviously Under Pressure is a killer track.
Killer.
And Action This Day isn't that bad. I mean, there's a couple tracks on here, like half of it is like not bad.
Well, if you start to listen to it and, over and over again, it starts to take hold. Is it great Queen? No. But you have to, I have to hand it to him for trying something new.
Right.
I mean, it's basically the game part 2 is all it is. It's an extension of the game. I kind of look at Hot Space and the game as...
Those come out right after each other? Was that?
Yeah, it's like Mark 1 and Mark 2, because that's, like I have always said when we talk about this stuff, the game is where the cracks started to form. That's...
Yes, agreed. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I told that story. When we were kids, we bought the game. Kind of like you, Tom, buying Hot Space.
Yeah.
But we bought the game back in the day, and my buddies and I are listening to it. We looked at the cover. Okay, it's gold shiny. I mean, it's silver shiny cover, kind of cool. But when we sat down and listened to it, we went, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
And it feels,
yeah.
Where's Night at the Opera? Where's Day at the Races? Where's News of the World. There,
Well,
no jazz for God's. It's just not anything like that.
I think that's what happens with a band like Queen, and I think this when people look back at also an album like Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. You have to think about the time that it came out, and you're thinking, well, what? Just a couple albums before they were doing, We Are the Champions, and now they're doing this, and the same with Black Sabbath is like
Right.
the couple albums before it was Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, or Sabotage, and now we're getting this, and
Yeah, the era has a lot to do with it.
yeah.
But when Tom, when I look at Hot Space in the Game, I don't see much difference. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more extreme, but there's still elements of that same record on the Game. But I'll probably burn a cross in my yard and set my house on fire for saying that. But
I just think Hot Space probably lacked some rockers. That there was a little bit more.
Side 2 rocks a lot more than side 1.
Yeah.
Put Out the Fire is kind of a rocker, but
that is. Yeah.
But the problem is you have to get through all of side 1 to get there. It's like there's no rockers till side 2.
And this is we probably going on a tangent, but is Hot Space the last record that had vocals from everybody? Well, I guess
that's a good
Radio
question.
Gaga
That's a really
has
good
Roger
question.
Taylor vocals on it. But it's like when Freddie started to take over and did all the vocals.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, Grant. It's really true.
This
It's like
is
in
like
the 80s,
last record.
in the 80s, he just sang everything.
Yeah, the beauty of
I
Queen
never
for
thought about that
me
either.
was that everybody would trade off.
Right.
Brian May write a song, he would sing it. Roger Taylor'd write a song, he'd sing it. But then everything became all Freddie singing it.
No,
That
that's a
lost
great
lot for
point.
me.
Never thought about that. That's a good point. Wow. That's a good one.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's very true because it became kind of one dimensional in the 80s. So here's another real quick
Go ahead. Keep going and we'll take it back to the Elder. So
and then the Elder can take over.
Okay.
But I got to ask you another sidetrack because you talked about Black Sabbath.
Sure.
So, Elder of Rock, what is your take on Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die? You're not a fan?
No, I do actually kind of like those albums. I'm a bigger fan of Technical Ecstasy than Never Say Die. But I just remember that though it took me a while to warm up to Never Say Die, mostly because without even really hearing it, I dismissed it for a while because this is a bad Black Sabbath album. And I remember even when that album came out, and I had that magazine Hit Parader, and they had a review of the album Never Say Die, and it was Even When You're Already Dead. So,
ouch.
So I kind of stayed away from that album, and then I finally did get to hear it, and was like, okay. Actually, a friend of mine I was in his car as a drummer I was in a band with, and he had the cassette, and he was playing the song Air Dance, and which is kind of an offbeat song for Black Sabbath, but I really liked it, and because he's like, oh yeah, this is Never Say Die, and I was like, what? This is the album Never Say Die, and then after that I got it, and so I like it. It's not my favorite, but it's you can kind of hear though that it's kind of you can hear the problems in that album, definitely. They weren't a together band, definitely.
Yeah,
Can you hear the drug intake and the booze on that record? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's really funny though that you liked Air Dance because that's always the song that everyone crucifies.
Yeah, I know.
Air Dance is horrible.
I think Air Dance is all right. It doesn't bother
I think
me.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I think those albums I don't think they're that bad, to be quite honest.
I don't either.
And I don't know if I got the Technical Ecstasy Deluxe Edition.
Oh, cool.
Stephen Wilson remixed it. And that's pretty cool too.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I think those albums are. I mean, again, shy. Like you said, I went into them thinking they weren't going to be any good, and then I'm like, oh, they're pretty good to me. I like them.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was saying. Like at the time, though, I can understand people being disappointed in it.
Yeah.
At the time that came out, because a couple, like I said, they put out Sabotage a couple albums before, and it's like,
what
is this?
If you're listening to Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and then you put that on, you're like, okay.
Yeah. So I could kind of understand that people being.
Cool. So does anybody have any honorable mentions? I know you guys have pulled more, so you might as well go for it.
Go ahead, Elder.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. This is an album that came out in 2000, and this is I think he had taken a little hiatus from the business, but I don't think there's anything wrong. He was just kind of, taking a break or whatever. And then he came back with this album called Brutal Planet. This is Alice Cooper, Brutal Planet.
I don't know if
I was really surprised by how much I liked it because he took a really different direction on this. He kind of took a maybe sounds a little Rob Zombie-ish or in the production on it and stuff. And I worked CD retail for a while. I managed a few CD stores, and so we were able to kind of sample a lot of stuff. And when this came in, I don't know if this was a promo I got or I just happened to hear it. Somebody brought it back, and I played it, and I couldn't believe how good it was. I was amazed, and yeah. So that was one.
Was that from the 90s? When did that come out?
That was from 2000. This came out in 2000.
2000. All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then the one after it too, Dragontown. They're kind of companion because they kind of had the same sound on it as well. Same production, heavy, kind of grungy, maybe a little little industrial sounding as well. Cool. So kind of like I said, Rom Zombie-ish maybe in that way.
Well, it would be of the time.
Yeah, but it's really good. And like I said, I was surprised because it's a surprisingly heavy album for an Alice Cooper album. You know, he's never been like a really heavy. He's kind of just been kind of hard rock or and had gothic, but this is like heavy. So that was really cool.
All right, cool.
And then another honorable mention I'll say is that I got this from on Amazon Music. They'll compile like different lists for you or mixes for you based on stuff you listen to. And this is one called a Discovery Mix, and this band came up, and I liked it. And then so I ended up getting the album, and then I ended up getting more albums of theirs. But this was the one that started as a Bloody Hammers, Songs of Unspeakable Terror. This is like horror, gothic metal. I was kind of another one I was surprised by. I ended up really liking it because I got a few more of their albums. Got a shirt from them because I liked them so much. I ended up buying a shirt. And yeah, so that's another one.
Oh, nice. Cool. Awesome. It's great when things work out that way, you know?
Yeah.
It's great to discover new bands that you're like, wow, I didn't know this band even existed.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. I was on another show. We talked about discovering new bands, and one thing that's kind of like when you discover a new band. Hey, cool, new band. Oh man, they got 20 albums. I got to kind of.
I got 20 albums to weed through.
Oh wow. Then you go kind of like go for a best of or a greatest hits or something maybe, and you sample that first to kind of maybe hopefully get the best of them.
Yeah.
So good. All right, Tom, what you got? You got any honorable mentions?
I got last one. Another low hanging fruit for everybody.
Maybe we're not judging here.
But who the hell expected this? And I mean, from this guy, I mean, he became a huge superstar, but in 1979, no one was expecting this.
Damn, right? Tom, I never know what Tom's going to hold up, Elder. It's like, oh, Phil Collins. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, say what you will about his solo career, but the guy, I mean, his first album, I just think is fantastic. I just think it's really well done. And nobody, he's just the drummer from Genesis. Nobody was expecting any songwriting from Phil Collins.
Well, I don't think even Phil expected anything.
Yeah. So, great record. It's got not only it's got ballads, it's got upbeat stuff, it's got Motowny kind of stuff, it's got jazz.
What songs does that have on? What's the big song off of that one? Would that be
In the Air Tonight? Was
In the Air Tonight? In the Air Tonight. Okay.
Yeah, but he does I love Roof is Leaking, Droned, Hand in Hand. I Missed Again. I like that song a lot.
That's a good.
Thunder and Lightning. I just think it's a really solid record. It's just very good. Really well written and well produced and well executed. And I just think people were just shocked at how good it was when it came out. I mean, I know I was when it came out.
Yeah, that's definitely some good production. Like those gated drums on In the Air Tonight. Those definitely had some good production on it for sure. That album.
Yeah, that started a whole movement of kind of ridiculous. Like people started abusing it. It was like too much.
Right.
But I had heard that he got that from Peter Gabriel. Like Peter Gabriel and him were kind of. Because Intruder, if you listen to Peter Gabriel 3,
it's on Intruder.
That huge drum sound. I guess they were influencing each other at that time.
Well, they're like cousins. So, but think about it. Yeah, and there's no cymbals. There's no cymbals on In the Air Tonight.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, they're just like very similar. But
and Peter Gabriel said to him when he went in to play on that record, he's like, "No cymbals. Take your cymbals away." And Phil was like, "What? No cymbals? What are you talking about?"
That's wild.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Isn't there other Genesis stuff that they ended up doing with no cymbals too? Probably. I can't think of them, but In the Air Tonight is one that doesn't have cymbals. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's like the cousin to Intruder.
It kind of is. See, I love this.
Uh-oh. Did everybody freeze? Oh no. Uh-oh. Hmm.
We appreciate it.
There he
Oh,
is.
we're back. The
There you
internet
go.
stopped.
We
Are
were
we
we were
still
like
recording? Oh, thank God.
we were like, do we end the show or what do we do?
Well, I'm gonna have to make an edit, but everything stopped.
That's cool. That happened to
All
me
right,
once.
Tom. So what? That was weird. Well,
That was weird.
we're in the internet for God's sakes. So, Tom, say what you were saying the last time when we disconnected. Do you remember?
Yeah, I was just saying that was just a great record, and I love how, like you said, the connection between him and Gabriel. I thought that was great, very true with the whole In the Air Tonight with Intruder. I never really put those together, but it's a great
I'm
thought.
putting it together today.
Yep.
But
And,
everybody influenced each other. Think about it. You had, this is going to go on a tangent, but think about the commercial aspect of Genesis in the 80s.
mm-hmm.
You get, by the time Peter Gabriel does So, you can't tell me, people are always going, oh, Genesis, blah, 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 all commercial, blah, blah, blah. You can't tell me that So wasn't a commercial success. Hit
Oh no, definitely
single
not.
after single. That's commercial.
Yeah, you can get away
He
from
totally
that
went
album.
after it. He went after it.
He
Oh,
went
yeah.
after it.
Oh yeah.
And it's a great record. I'm not taking anything away from it.
No,
But
no.
you always have those Peter Gabriel people. Well, I don't like it when, I only like the early stuff before Phil took
Right.
over. It really wasn't Phil taking over. It was a group effort. But yeah, well, Peter Gabriel put out commercial product too, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying.
He did.
Yeah, he definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever,
You
you
can
have
get
to
away
make
from
some
the
money.
Sledgehammer video. You can get away from that video. In the
Back
80s.
in the day, Elder, they played that nonstop on
That got a little overplayed. Honestly,
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Red
And we're turning
Rain.
into Sledgehammer again. It's like
Yeah.
But it's
turn on the radio. Sledgehammer again.
But think about it. Peter Gabriel back then he could do. Yeah, you want something commercial? He could do it.
Yeah.
It was a big
he's a
record.
talented fellow, that guy.
Very talented.
Yeah.
But all the Genesis, everybody in Genesis, very talented. So I will give it that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I guess we could wrap this dog up. I guess I'm gonna have to do some editing. Anybody else have anything to add before we wrap it up?
I was just also going to maybe mention that one album that I was really disappointed in was
Go ahead.
Dream Theater's The Astonishing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was like
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the one Dream Theater album that I once owned and got rid of. So,
what happened with that record? What was the problem?
I don't know. I just think they tried to reach too far, or something. You also wonder if that kind of thing would have happened to that degree with Mike Portnoy in the band. I'm not saying they wouldn't have tried to do a concept album. I think they have before, but you just wonder like if they would have if it would have been musically better or just more compacted or something. I mean, it was like a 2.5 hour long or something CD, 2 CDs, and it was
way too long.
Way too long. There's a concept you're supposed to follow. Different characters like were being sung by James LaBrie. He was singing like a character and then another character. And it was just, just really, yeah.
That's
and it was also that the
2016.
Also, the concept of it was kind of like, didn't Rush do this already with 2112? It was about music kind of being outlawed or something like that.
Isn't this just Rush 2112?
Yeah, it was like, what's going on?
That's funny.
It was weird.
That is funny, and like there's aren't passages in that album just boring? I mean, they're just boring.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm looking at the reviews for this record, and All Music gave it 4 out of 5. Classic Rock gave it 4 out of 5. Rolling Stone gave it a 3.5. Metal Hammer, Kerrang gave it a positive. Everybody seems to like it.
Okay, well,
I just thought it was too long. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't parts of musical greatness in there, but it's too few and far between. It was like, if a good passage came up, it's like, oh, a good passage. and then it's not another one for It's like, so that
We
was
could have used some editing for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's long. It's got, oh my God. I'm looking at, it's 100. Oh my goodness gracious. It's 130 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a slog. It was a slog to get through.
How could you sit through all that?
Yeah.
You're asking a lot of your audience. I mean, and granted, their audience was ready for that, but not that long.
And then they went out and played the whole album on the tour, which is another thing I hear. I didn't see that tour, but I heard it was not very well attended, and and the crowd reaction wasn't very, very well, and so.
All right. Well, yeah, I've never heard it, and I won't listen to it.
Yeah.
Based on that, but
put a whole afternoon aside for that.
Yeah, I don't have time. My time's winding down. I don't have time to listen to that. All right, cool. All right, well, I think we can wrap this dog up. We were just talking, ladies and gentlemen, if you're late to the conversation, we were talking about records that, well, either we liked them or we didn't. We got turned on to something that maybe didn't fly, but some records we dug. So based on that, please like, subscribe. You too could be on these panels. We also have a Patreon that you can join where we have daily content posted. Because we do a lot of these conversations. We talk about stuff. Like I said, you could be on this. We also have a Ko-fi. Buy us a pint, buy us a cup of coffee. We love that. We also love donations. We love money here in the Contrarian site. Well, we do this. Basically, all we are out to do is to try to turn you on to music. So hopefully this conversation, has turned you on to something. It probably turned you off to some things.
Maybe make you curious, maybe.
Maybe it'll make you curious and you want to check in. But if you like any of these records that these gentlemen have talked about, please leave a comment down there. And if it's a record that these gentlemen disliked, we want to hear from you. So anyway, what's next on the channel? God only knows, but there's content damn near coming out every day. So please like, subscribe. We appreciate everybody tuning in. I want to thank these gentlemen for coming on tonight, Tom Curlis and the Elder of Rock. I want to thank both of you guys for coming on. It's always fun talking music with you gentlemen, and appreciate you coming on. So stay tuned for more content.